afternoon, everyone. If you could gather around, we'll start our program today. Welcome to the Bourne Fire Department Centennial Celebration. Good afternoon, everyone. What a special day this is to celebrate a remarkable milestone. 100 years of the Bourne Fire Department serving our community. I am Philip Tura, retired Bourne Fire Lieutenant, and it's an honor to welcome you to this historic occasion. For a century, the brave men and women of the Bourne Fire Department have stood ready, responding to emergencies, protecting lives, and safeguarding our homes. Today, we are not just looking back at the past, but we are celebrating the unwavering dedication, sacrifice, and evolution of our department, and we continue to be the backbone of Bourne and public safety. I'd like to introduce our Fire Department Chaplain, Glenn Stone, for the invocation.
Good afternoon, everybody. It has been my pleasure to serve as chaplain of the Bourne Fire Department since 2011. During that time, I have seen the dedication and compassion of the firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics who have served our community. We should be proud of the level of selfless service these men and women have given to protect our community. Would you bow your heads in prayer with me? Almighty and compassionate God, Maker of heaven and earth, we come before you this afternoon with grateful hearts for the past 100 years of service the Bourne Fire Department has given to our community. From its beginning in 1925, you have been the unseen presence in every daytime or late night call to duty, whether to put out fires or to meet medical needs. We thank you for your protection over the men and women who have served in our fire department. As residents of this fair town, we all have been recipients of the professional and compassionate service of the trained and dedicated EMTs and paramedics who've responded so quickly to every call, even during the busy summer weekends. Gracious God, we thank you for the men and women of the Bourne Fire Department and their willingness to serve even when inconvenient, and for their families who willingly sacrifice their time that we might benefit. Our Lord God, we ask for your presence today as we celebrate the past 100 years of service, and we ask as well for your guidance and protection over the women and men of the fire department for the next 100 years. May you ever be the unseen presence in every call, blessing and protecting those who have put their lives on the line for others. We ask all this in your mighty name. Amen.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Chaplain Stone. We have an interesting program planned for you this afternoon. The Bourne Fire Department is honored to introduce some distinguished group of dignitaries here. First, U.S. Representative Bill Keating, State Representative David Vieira, State Representative Steven Xiarhos, State Fire Marshal Jon Davine, State Police Colonel Geoffrey Noble. Is Rob Gallibo seen? Okay. And members of the Bourne Select Board. Also, will be joining us as soon as he can will be State Senator Dylan Fernandes. And of course, our very own Bourne Fire Chief, David Pelonnzi. Chief Pelonnzi will acknowledge the vital, multifaceted roles of the modern fire and EMS personnel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to celebrate 100 years of service and commitment here at Bourne Fire Rescue and Emergency Services. I'd like to extend a special welcome to our distinguished guests, town officials, community partners, past and present members of this department, and all of those who have supported us over the decades. The profession of fire and emergency services is constantly evolving, shaped by a rapidly changing world and the many challenges that come with it. Over the course of my career in public safety, I have seen departments across our nation, and us right here in Bourne, rise to meet new and complex demands. Departments respond to an increasing number of severe weather events, flooding, tornadoes, and other natural disasters. We've witnessed devastating wildfires consuming the wildland-urban interface, and departments large and small respond to active shooter incidents and other hostile events designed to harm innocent people. We have worked through a global pandemic and now grapple with the unique hazards posed by lithium-ion battery fires. Sure, people call us when they are sick or injured, when they experience a fire, but with each new challenge, the fire service adapts. We evolve, we train, and we respond because that is what our communities count on us to do. We are truly all hazards responders, prepared to stand between danger and the people we serve. I learned this early on growing up in a firefighting family, and it has been a guiding principle for me ever since. It's remarkable to reflect on how much Bourne Fire Rescue has grown and changed over the years. When I joined the department in 1999, our annual call volume was fewer than 3,000 calls a year. Last year alone, our department responded to almost 5,300 calls, and we're on pace to exceed that this year. The advances we have witnessed in pre-hospital medicine care, in fireground tactics and strategies, and our focus on firefighter health and safety is nothing short of incredible. When I think about how much has changed in just the past 25 years, I can only imagine what it must have been like over the 75 years that preceded my time here. Can you picture what those who founded this department would think if they could see us today? From the 1939 Buffalo engine over there to our engine 121 over there. The equipment we rely on now has come a long way. Like every fire department, Bourne has faced its share of challenges. In the 90s, nearly a third of the department was laid off during a major budget crisis in town. And even in that difficult time, the department carried on, remained dedicated to the mission, and ultimately came back stronger. Throughout it all, our progress and successes have never been achieved alone. We are fortunate to have a tremendous network of partnerships. We work hand in hand with our fellow town departments and our public safety partners, the Police Department, Department of Natural Resources, DPW, State Police, Environmental Police, Maritime Academy Police, and the Sheriff's Department. We rely on the dedication and professionalism of our mutual aid partners and countless government and non-governmental agencies that we routinely collaborate with to keep our community safe. To all of them, I offer our deepest thanks and appreciation. Most importantly, I want to recognize the hardworking men and women of Bourne Fire Rescue who show up every single day ready to serve this community. Whether it's answering a medical call in the middle of the night, fighting a structure fire, responding to a hazardous materials incident, or helping our residents through their most difficult moments, their commitment never wavers. I also want to honor all who have served this town by volunteering or working as part of this department throughout our history. And especially, I want to thank the families and the loved ones of our firefighters and staff whose support, sacrifice, and understanding make their work possible. Please join me in thanking all of them for their dedication, their professionalism, and their sacrifice. I could not do what it is I do if it were not for all that they do. The Centennial is not about just a moment to look back. It's also a time to honor the people who made this progress possible. Thank you to everyone who had a role in planning the celebration. To all of you who came out to commemorate this milestone. I am humbled and honored to serve this community as your fire chief and to be a part of the department that has spent 100 years answering the call. Here's to all who built this proud tradition and to the generations who will carry it forward. Thank you.
On behalf of the members of the Centennial Committee, we want to present to the Bourne Fire Department this plaque. This plaque commemorating our 100 years from 1925 to 2025. Thank you, Chief Pelonnzi. I'd like to welcome retired Bourne Fire Chief Martin Greene, honoring those who have made the ultimate sacrifice.
Good afternoon. We started this January, February, this challenge, and one of the things really is documenting the history, besides celebrating today. You know, we gather here today to celebrate, but we also need to remember. Like any public safety agency as our fire department, the day-to-day activities take a toll on the physical and mental health of our members and families. This includes the families that we recognize that served the past 100 years. We also need to embrace the two fallen who lost their lives in service to our community. The first one happened actually April 27th in 1938. It was a brush fire. The spring of 38 was very dry. It was direct sun combined with southwest winds during the spring is probably one of the more dangerous. It was really conducive to rapid fire spread. At the time of the accident and time of this fire as well, there were 4 other fires burning within 15 miles in and around Cape Cod and Sandwich. Both area resources and supervision were limited. At approximately 12:30 that day, a fire from an earlier fire that had rekindled when it rekindled, it started in the midst of 40-mile-an-hour winds. It rapidly burned, into Sham State Forest, now known as Sham Crowell State Forest. The sun-dried surface allowed the flames to rapidly spread into 10 and 30-foot pines in black oak. It was decided a stand would be made near the intersection of what then was Route 30 and Route 6 at the northern flank. Now, a stand is when the firefighters put themselves between the oncoming fire and the unburned area behind them. At the time, Deputy Chief Clarence Gibb approached the fire on Route 6 with a 400-gallon pumper truck. With him were 2 civilian volunteers and Bourne firefighter Irvin A. Draper. With the fire closing rapidly, amidst shifting and gusty winds, Deputy Gibbs knew they were exposed. At about 2:30 that day, a sudden violent gust caused the fire to flare up and jump the road, cutting off the men from their pumper. Deputy Gibbs made the call to get out and started back toward Jefferson Road. To his dismay, he looked back and his personnel had failed to follow him out of the area. After the fire front had passed, Deputy Gibbs later walked out with firefighter Draper suffering severe burns, and the 2 volunteers also suffered injuries. That fire that day burned 5,000 acres. The 3 of those that got caught in the fire that day all died within 30 days. Firefighter Irvin Draper was relieved of his suffering and died in May of 1938. He was 32 at the time with a child who was 8. There is a memorial, and most people may not be aware, on Route 130 in Sandwich. If you get off Route 6 and turn towards Mashpee, it's about a half mile down on the right. We were lucky enough in the research with the help of my sister-in-law and brother to track down the Draper family who are out of Maryland. They could not be here today due to some health reasons, but we got to talk to the great-granddaughter and the granddaughter as well, and they are truly thankful at this moment to recognize him. The second one is Trooper Pearlie K. Johnson. To understand the recognition of Trooper Johnson, I need to kind of educate you folks a little bit. We need to remember who Pearlie was. Trooper Johnson was a 10-year veteran of the Massachusetts State Police, who was assigned to the Fire Investigating Unit of the State Fire Marshal's Office. Trooper Johnson, like all the troopers working fire investigations, had a great working relationship with area fire departments, including Bourne. To give you an example, it's not unusual in some parts of the state for a trooper to have a secondary office within a fire station. The relationship has always been excellent. Again, most of the public is not aware of the relationship with the FIU and the state police regarding this. It's always been positive in excess of 35 years at this point. He also, sadly, was a resident, his death, he was a resident of the town of Bourne, and we need to recognize him today. In February 1978, Trooper Johnson responded to a request to investigate a suspicious fire in Wyant Beach, which was later determined to be arson. He died within a few days of a fire due to exposure of smoke and carbon monoxide. Trooper Johnson is recognized today because of his call to duty in trying to keep his community safe and the fire department safe due to this arson fire. He is survived by his wife, Carol Johnson, who is here today, and 1 child. Both of these gentlemen have received recognition in one form or another prior to today. Firefighter Draper, as I mentioned, has that memorial on Route 130. Trooper Johnson, his name is on the National Law Enforcement Memorials in Washington, D.C., and the State Fire Academy in Stowe named a street after him within their training complex. I'm happy to tell you, though, we did add to the recognition of both Firefighter Draper and Trooper Johnson by placing their names into a brick walkway for eternity in 2 places. The Walk of Honor is located at the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. The National Fire Fighters Memorial is there, and that walkway leads to the chapel at the memorial within the National Fire Academy. And locally, just outside the Massachusetts State House, there is a Ring of Honor that surrounds the fallen firefighters memorial. There's a place of reflection for the firefighters and their family. The Ring of Honor includes the names of the deceased who served the community proudly and is a small way to remember their courage and compassion. Their memorial stands tall as a tribute to the spirit, courage, and dedication of the past, present, and future. So today we remember them as well in the midst of the celebration. Now I'd like to introduce, and again, as a routine here, we never forget who we worked with and who we lost. I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Geoffrey Noble to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Chief. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Noble. I serve as the Colonel and the Superintendent of the Massachusetts State Police. Like we just heard, I commit today, just like every colonel before me, and I know every colonel that will come after me, that we will never forget our fallen. We will never forget the sacrifices that our troopers and our fellow first responders make in the call to service. When that bell rings, it takes a special human being to put their hand up and say, I will go. I will go towards the danger. I will go towards the fire. I will go towards the bullets. Those special human beings have a special place, in my opinion, in our society. And I honor and I thank the committee today and the chief for bringing us together to continue to honor our fallen. While our jobs in fire and policing often are the same, but often sometimes are different, we absolutely share one common goal. We all answer the same call to service. Again, thank you for honoring the sacrifice of Trooper Johnson. I would just like to take a moment to talk about Trooper Johnson. Trooper Pearlie Johnson, who I had the privilege and honor of meeting his widow, Carol, who's here today, was an amazing human being, a true public servant. And he led through his actions. He put his hand up and he said, I will serve not only the Commonwealth as a very dedicated, highly esteemed Massachusetts State Trooper, but also one who took a special interest in the prevention of fire and the apprehension of those who commit arson. I want to commend and thank our commanders from the State Fire Marshals detail from the State Police who are with us today. Thank you for being here today. I'd also like to make a note that we have retired Major Lavoie here today who served with Pearlie Johnson, and that is the type of memory that we have with all of our fallen. We will never forget their sacrifice. I'm truly honored to be here to remember all of our heroes, our military heroes, our police, our first responders. We share one mission, and that is to serve. We take that duty seriously. We put our hand up and we say thank you to the community for the honor and the privilege to serve all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Greene and Colonel Noble. I'd like to welcome to the podium retired Bourne Fire Chief Steven Philbrick. Chief Philbrick will take us on a journey through the history of the fire department, reflecting on the past century of service.
Good afternoon. It's great to see everybody here. And I'm going to do a little history lesson, but don't be alarmed. I'm not going to spend, it's hot out here, so we're going to have a little bit of fun, but I'm not going to, prolong this, but a lot of interesting things happened at the beginning of this department, and I think it's important to reflect on it. But there's one person who couldn't be here today and asked me to send a message. That's the chair of the select board, Ms. Melissa Ferretti. Due to a medical issue, she couldn't be here. She texted me this and asked me to read it, and I certainly am glad to. It says, as chair of the Bourne Select Board and chairwoman of the Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe, I carry a deep appreciation for the history that surrounds us. The land we gather on holds generations of stories of indigenous stewardship, of early colonial enterprises, of a town that long stood at the crossroads of change and resilience. From the Aptuxet trading post where the Pilgrims once exchanged good with the Dutch settlers, to the creation of Cape Cod Canal that reshaped the maritime travel of the country. Bourne has always played a quiet but vital role in the American story. As through it all, one thing has remained constant: the power of community and the care of collective responsibility. The same spirit lives on in the work of the Bourne Fire Department. You're not only first responders, you are stewards of safety, compassion, and trust. Whether rushing towards danger or offering comfort in crisis, your service reflects the very best of who we are and who we strive to be. On behalf of the Select Board, the tribe, the entire town, thank you for 100 years of extraordinary service. We look forward to continuing this journey together with gratitude, respect, and purpose. Congratulations and thank you. And that's from Chair Ferretti. So, there's a long history, obviously, of 100 years or so. And I promise I'm not going to go through it year by year. It's kind of hot out here. So, we're going to hit some of the highlights, just so everyone has an idea why we're here and how we got here. Before 1924, the town was served by some private responders that weren't connected with the town. The town had a forest warden back then who basically conscripted people to fight brush fires, and the Buzzards Bay Protectives Association, which had a horse-drawn truck over here. 1924, a group of concerned citizens from Sagamore decided we had to have a real fire department. They had a survey done and a report made, which is there for viewing over there, by the Maxim Motor Company, which manufactured fire trucks, and they did the survey and made recommendations to the town of Bourne. Town meeting 1925 established a fire department under Chapter 48 of the Mass General Laws, as passed by the 3 articles at town meeting, and they appointed the first fire chief. Our first fire chief in 1925 was Ralph Johnson. His grandson, Barry Johnson, sitting right over there, is our town clerk. And his family has a long history in the department. And most everybody in the family, like back then, they all served on the fire department one way or the other. Now, during Chief Johnson's time, something happened here in Buzzards Bay, which we don't like to talk about too much, but in 1931, the guys were out at 2 different building fires in Buzzards Bay, and a kid came up to him and said, "Hey, do you know the fire station's burning down?" And they said, "Go away, kid, we're busy." And so they came back, and sure enough, there was a pile of rubble there, because there was no radios or anything back then. So in 1932, then Chief Johnson actually was getting ready to retire, but they started the process to build this station that stands right down the street here now. In 1932, the town adopted Chapter 38 of Mass General Laws of the Civil Service, and we appointed the first civil service fire chief, who was James Taylor, retired battalion chief from Boston Fire, hired in 1901, and he served the town of Bourne until 1936. During Chief Taylor's time, he was able to rebuild this station over here and add motorized fire equipment. We had some chemical Model Ts before that, but he fired the first actually motorized pumping vehicles and our first ladder truck. In 1936, Chief Johnson retired, and his one full-time firefighter at the time, J. Thomas Wallace, was appointed fire chief in 1936. His grandson, Steve Wallace, is right over here, and the Wallace family has a long and storied history here in Buzzards Bay. It's fascinating, and there's a little bit more I'll get to about that here in a little bit. But Chief Wallace served for 20 years and died in office in 1956. He was able to hire the first full-time people in the outside stations, Monument Beach and Pecasset. In 1933, he hired housemen. They lived in the fire station. Every 2 weeks, you got to go home for the weekend. One of those was my grandfather. The housemen worked until 1944, at which time they decided when we were able to hire some more people and have more of a full-time staff. They actually went on a shift in 1944. At that time, they moved right up, and the guys working, starting in 1904, worked 4 days, 4 nights, and then had 2 days off. Also, Chief Wallace was able to purchase that truck, which is sitting right over there, the 39 Buffalo. He built, his brother actually, Charlie Wallace, who owned a garage right on Main Street, built our first 2 brush trucks for military surplus from World War II, a 1944 Chevy and a 1942 GMC. Those trucks cost $250 a piece. They ran for 50 years, running into trees in the woods, mind you. In 1956, Chief Wallace, as I mentioned, died in office. His main man in Buzzards Bay at the time was Charles Sumner Squid Braley, and he was the radio man. He's the man that set up the first two-way radios, and that was cutting edge back in the late 30s to have two-way radios. Another thing Bourne was on the cutting edge of. So he became chief in 1956. In 1970, something was a paradigm shift, I would say, in the fire service. It was coming, but nobody knew exactly how to handle it. In 1970, Chief Braley took the ambulance from the police department and put it in the fire department. And that was a big change. That changed the whole scope of work for the fire department, and you can see where that's gone now. Chief Wallace, I forgot to mention this before, but Chief Wallace was also on the cutting edge of this. As when he first became chief, he took a firefighter certification program and took a first aid instructor's class, and he actually bought a resuscitator so the guys could go out on first aid calls, which was pretty much cutting edge stuff for 1936. And that only blossomed. Now also before, just when Chief Braley took over, we were able to increase manpower a little bit more again, and the guys were able to go to a 56-hour week, which was 3 days, 3 nights, and 3 days off. So that stayed in place for quite a few years afterwards, and was kind of a standard around the country back then. 1948, also, the 2 stations, the one that's presently in Pecasset, which is unmanned, and the one in Sagamore, which was turned down when they built the rotary flyover, were built. And so after 1970, the focus of the department was still firefighting, but EMS was started to become a big part of it. I think a lot of you may remember, at least the ones that are older, of Squad 51, Rescue 51 in California. That actually spurred the paramedic program to start. In 1975, Cape and Islands EMS was established, and the first paramedic program was instituted. 1975, the first 2 paramedics were on the Bourne Fire Department. Charlie Kluber and Skip Reedy were our first ALS providers. And that's when things really started to change and our focus changed. And we started to, focus more on that part of the business. Let's see, where are we up to here? 1975. Again, the firefighters had become a member of Local 1717 of the International Association of Firefighters, and they were negotiate a 42-hour week finally. So we went to a 2, 2, and 4, and that necessitated hiring more firefighters. So at that time, a lot of us, or the original 8 from 75, got hired. And And that was pretty much where we're at. We did start to expand our coverage for the ambulance, adding a second ambulance to the south side of the canal for quite a while, and that was quite a big improvement. Now, not everything was roses as we moved along in history. 1991, the town of Bourne had a $4.5 million deficit. We were unable to secure an override, and the layoffs took effect. We laid off 30% of the fire department. Everybody with less than 7 years was laid off. All the fire stations were closed but the one in Buzzards Bay. There was no ambulance on the south side. It was a grim time. 2 weeks after that happened, Hurricane Bob came and did tremendous damage to the town. Bob Eldridge was our acting chief at the time, and we did our best to hold things together. The long process of rebuilding began. 1992, we did some renovations in Monument Beach because we didn't have a truck small enough to fit in that station anymore. We also bought a new engine for that station, the cheapest thing we could find, and it's still running today. And we also, as we moved along, I was able to add more personnel. Eventually, over a period of 6 years, we got back to where we were before the layoffs, with an ambulance on both sides of the canal, all stations manned, and we were able to actually go above that and have 2 people in the station and the outside, unlike one that we had for many years. So it was a slow period, but we finally got the department back to where it's been. As I mentioned earlier, the station in Monument Beach was built in the 1890s. The one in Pecasset was built in 1946, but had structural issues and can't be used. 1926, when they purchased the station, the current station that's in Monument Beach, is a report in the town hall by Chief Johnson that we purchased the Douglas stables to use as a fire station, and we're quite sure that in a short period of time we'll find more suitable location and dwelling for the fire department. Well, 99 years ago, now from then, the guys are still there living in a trailer. However, the good news is, as most of you know, this last town meeting finally approved a new fire station. So, and yes, thank you to the town of Bourne and everybody that helped us get there. This was a process that took, as a lot of people know, many years. I was on a committee on this back in the 80s, again in the 90s, and it's been a long process. But thanks to the leadership of the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator, Chief Pelonnzi, we made it over the goal line finally this year, and we will have actually a new fire station, the first one the town of Bourne has actually bought and paid for since 1948. So that's kind of a brief history of what's been going on here and how we got here. As Chief Pelonnzi mentioned, when I left office in 2000, we were doing about 2,800 calls a year. Since then, this has gone up 100%. I listen to the scanner every day, and I don't know how many people do, but it's worth a listen. It's non-stop. It's not the old days like when I first started where you could actually get a night's sleep in the bunk room. It doesn't happen. These guys work hard. They work 24-hour shifts, they're off 24, and they work another 24, and then they have days off, which sounds pretty nice. But those 24 hours can get really long. And if you don't have enough people come in the next day, guess what? You don't go home either. So there's a lot of dedication here. A lot of dedication from the new guys, a lot of dedication from the old guys that are retired. There's a whole bunch of them around over here. And, you know, we did our part, but these guys need the support now. They're doing twice the work we were with not that twice as much manpower. So, and just in closing, I want to congratulate the department, where they're at, what they've done, and what they're going to do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Philbrick. I'd like to introduce U.S. Representative Bill Keating.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here with Bourne officials. I enjoy working with on a daily basis, select board members and our esteemed town clerk, as well as the other officials, and statewide public safety officials, as well as my colleagues in state government. It's been a pleasure over the years, before I was in Congress, working with the fire service as a district attorney. We worked on many things together. Sadly, we worked on cases where there was a death involved, where we worked hand in hand with the Fire Marshal's office. We worked with our state police group attached to our unit, investigating that, and it's great to see. And congratulations, Colonel. And we're proud to be a site and a host for a state police barrack just on the other side of the bridge. And it's important to recognize as we go forward some of the history that's here. Chief Philbrick did a great job going through that history. It's amazing. It goes back into the 1890s when, incidentally, there was a fire warden, there was a forest warden, and the people that volunteered were paid the great sum of 50 cents an hour to fight fires. We've come a long ways. The villages and the progressive society there that shows the civic involvement and the community roots that the fire department is so much attuned to really was a focus during the early years of Bourne. That progressive society, most notably in the villages of Sagamore and Buzzards Bay and Monument Beach, all moved forward and gave the impetus to town officials to go forward with the history of a full-scale fire department that we celebrate here today, 100 years later. So we look at what was done over those years with pride, but we look forward to what's going on as well. And all of us have to be involved. As I learned as a district attorney, all of us can get involved in assisting our fire and public safety officials. I started a juvenile fire setters program. There's things that we can all do in our daily lives to try and make things safer for those people that risk their lives to help us. I think there's a real uniqueness about the Bourne Fire Department. They face challenges that no other fire department in the Commonwealth truly has faced. Their community is divided with the canal. Their access point for motor vehicle traffic and pedestrian traffic are 2 bridges. With call time being so important, the response time, minutes, can mean the difference between life and death. The training that goes involved, the work that they do to prepare, really is something 100 years, with 100 years glimpse that we should honor then and today. They work with more partners, I think, than any other fire department in the Commonwealth. Bourne has the largest and longest coastal fronts in the entire Cape Cod area. They work with the Department of Natural Resources, they work with Department of Environmental Affairs, they work with FEMA, they work with the Army Corps of Engineers, they work hand in hand with their local and state police forces. They are true community partners in every sense of the word. I'd like to present, if I could, to the chief, a congressional record. I'm not going to read it, it's lengthy, commemorating today. This will be a permanent record in Congress, commemorating the history of the Bourne Fire Department and what we're celebrating here today. I must tell you, in my job now, it's an honor to keep working with you to make the job of firefighters safer. With SAFER grants, with AFG grants, which not only help them do their job better, but also make their jobs safer. And lastly, and most importantly, being here today as a resident of Bourne, it gives me an opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to all those that served. Thank you to the families of the 2 who lost their lives that we recognize here today. Thank you for the people that are currently serving in the Bourne Fire Department and the whole public safety sector in this community. You have a lot to be proud of. We're proud of you. And every day we put our head on the pillow here in Bourne, we can sit back and know that if some emergency arises, we have the best, most professional, dedicated people we could ever ask for that risk their lives day in, day out, and whose family has great sacrifices when they go to duty every day, not knowing if they'll come back. We have a lot to be proud of. So today is a day of thanks. It's a day of gratitude. It's a day of pride for the Bourne community. So Chief, I'd like to present this congressional record to you.
Thank you, Representative Keating. I'd like to welcome State Representative David Vieira. And State Representative Steven Xiarhos.
It's hot, so we're going to do it together, right? But it's an honor to be here today to recognize the 100 years of service of the department, of the individuals, and of the families to the Bourne community. From Chief Johnson to Chief Pelonnzi, it's a long history that we've heard about. When I walked in, I saw the young children over here with the fire hose, and the firefighters were helping them put out the flames. And it's fun, it looked like fun. But the real work is dangerous. But Bourne Fire Department, I had some personal experience in my previous career working with Chief Kluber, and then with Chief Greene, and Phil Tura, who was in charge of our triad program, where we worked with senior citizens on fire and fall prevention, and we had a good time together and built a community trying to educate individuals in the community how to be safe, to make the job of the first responders easier. And for 10 years, I had the honor of representing the Barnstable County Sheriff's Office in that triad program. And Bourne was a leader. The Bourne Fire Department, the Bourne Police Department, and the Bourne Senior Center were one of the first communities to bring that program to Cape Cod. And so today, we're going to recognize that 100th anniversary. But from a kid from Falmouth who's had that experience directly with Bourne, congratulations and thank you for not only what you do every day, but for the sense of community that you all bring here to Bourne.
Beautiful. Thank you, Representative Vieira. I'm Representative Xiarhos. This is our district. We call it the Fighting 5th District. I'm proud to be here with everybody. I want to give a shout out to the veterans that are here, like this one right here that's been sitting there for hours, and he's doing great. All of you that have served our country, it means a lot, whether it's in the military, whether it's police, and especially fire today. I know what you do, and I know the cost of public service, and it was beautiful and bittersweet to hear the stories of the two that we lost. We can never forget that, so thank you for doing that. My message is clear. I'm proud to be a state representative, proud to be an elected official, but mostly I'm proud to be a father and to be here with you today in Buzzards Bay. And one of the things we do as a family, we do Big Nick's Ride for the Fallen and Blackbeard's motorcycle ride. So I want to give you a heads up that on Sunday, Blackbeard, which is Matt Pacino, born and raised in Bourne, his motorcycle ride is happening, and then next Sunday is Big Nick's Ride, my son's ride, for all the fallen, all that serve, all that sacrifice. And we have a special challenge coin that I'd like to give to the chief, thanking you for what you do for all of us. God bless.
And a citation which we won't read.
Thank you, Representatives Vieira and Xiarhos. I'd like to welcome State Fire Marshal Jon Davine.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chief Pelonnzi, Chief Greene, and Chief Philbrick, and to all our distinguished guests. It's an honor to join you today to celebrate 100 years of service of the Bourne Fire Department. I might be a little bit biased, but being a firefighter is the best job in the world. We work as a team, we live as a family, and we forge friendships that last a lifetime. Thank you to the members of the Bourne Fire Department for answering the call to serve and for consistently providing the highest level of service to your community. When the firefighters look back at their department over the course of 100 years, it's like looking through a family photo album, and it fills us with pride in those who came before us. They battled raging fires in canvas coats, without self-contained breathing apparatus or radios, and without a fire code to mitigate the hazards they faced. It's remarkable what those brave firefighters did a century ago, and they left big boots for us to fill. Here in Bourne and across the nation, the bold young firefighters who have stepped forward since 1925 would make those that came before us proud. Each generation of the fire service confronts new and unexpected challenges and meets them head on. They are the first and often the last line of defense against just about every crisis, hazard, or emergency. From car crashes to house fires, from hazmat to technical rescue, you are the bright light of hope in our darkest moments. And we are deeply, deeply grateful for the sacrifices you've made. And speaking of sacrifices, I just want to recognize the loved ones who have joined us today. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, daughters and sons. Thank you for supporting the firefighters in your lives, and by extension, the community that they serve. We know the waiting and wondering you must sometimes endure, and we are grateful for everything you've given us. You too are part of our family and celebrated within the fire service. And finally, on behalf of the Department of Fire Services and the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, it's my privilege to present to the Bourne Fire Department this certificate. Chief. It's short, so I'll read it. In recognition of your unwavering dedication and interests of public safety, fire protection and prevention, and the preservation of life and property during 100 years of service to the town of Bourne, Plymouth County, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you for your steadfast commitment to excellence and your enduring contributions to the Massachusetts Fire Service. Congratulations and thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Marshal Dab. I'd now like to welcome to the podium our State Senator, Dylan Fernandes.
Thank you, Chief. It's an honor to be here today to recognize the Bourne Fire Department. And thank you for all of your work to keep people safe in this community. And as people here know, it is so much more than just firefighting. These people, these men and women are on the front lines of mental health crises that arise in our community, keeping people dealing with severe issues safe. And on the Cape, we have some of the highest mental health rates, mental health issues in the Commonwealth. It's also about being on the front lines of those struggling with substance misuse issues, our heroin epidemic, giving people Narcan to keep them alive so that they can have a more full, better life and reach long-term recovery. And whether it's these issues around mental health and substance misuse, fighting fires, or just responding to a neighbor in need, the Bourne Fire Department is always there for this community. So it's an honor to represent them in the Senate. It's an honor to represent you in the Senate. I will say, one of the issues that's come up in firefighting circles is the issue of PFAS in firefighter gear. PFAS, as I'm sure many of you know, is a forever chemical linked to higher cancer rates for people for firefighters and anyone who has exposure, long-term exposure to it. And just last year, Massachusetts, in the legislature, in the House, and the Senate, became the first state in the nation to ban PFAS in firefighter gear to keep our firefighters safe and make sure that we are protecting their lives as they're protecting ours. So I brought a resolution from the Senate. This was passed in the Senate just last week. The Senate is the oldest, and the House, the Massachusetts legislature, the oldest constitutional democracy in the planet. And this is read into the permanent record. And so as long as our great Commonwealth exists, this resolution celebrating the Bourne Fire Department will exist. So Chief, I'd like to present this to you as well. And it is lengthy. There's a lot to praise, so I won't read the whole thing, but I want to present this to you. Thank you and your team for your service.
Thank you, Senator Fernandes. I would like now to welcome the Bourne Select Board representatives.
Thank you. Our chair, Melissa Ferretti, gave words on behalf of the board. I want to take this opportunity to thank 3 individuals who had an idea and made this happen. And those are retired Bourne Fire Lieutenant Tura, retired Chief Steven Philbrick, and retired Chief Martin Greene. These 3 men came up with an idea to celebrate 100 years of the Bourne Fire Department, and it was their hard work and dedication and putting together a committee and fundraisers and volunteers and all the people that are listed on the back of the program to make this happen for this day of commemoration, but also the documentation of the history, because that is so important to remembering who we are and celebrating what our fire department has been and will continue to be for all of us. So thank you to the hard work that made this happen.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome back to the podium our Chaplain Stone for a benediction.
I want to thank you all for being here today as we celebrate the 100 years of service the Bourne Fire Department has given. And would you please bow your heads as we pray a benediction. Almighty and gracious God, ruler over all, as we conclude this service of remembrance, we ask your blessing over every full-time and volunteer firefighter, every EMT, every paramedic who serves in Bourne. We pray that you would protect and strengthen each one. We ask your blessings upon Fire Chief Pelonnzi, all the deputy chiefs, the lieutenants, that they may lead with wisdom and skill. We also ask your blessing upon the Bourne Police Department, upon the state police barracks who are stationed here, those who work closely with the fire department in protecting lives. We ask your blessing upon our town and upon each resident here. We pray all this in your mighty name. Amen.
Thank you, Glenn. We invite you to enjoy the display of antique fire trucks and visit with some of our vendors that are here. Please visit our table to commemorate t-shirts, hats, and challenge coins. You can also scan the QR code on the back of your program to purchase other apparel to commemorate this day. On behalf of the men and women of the Bourne Fire Department, past and present, thank you for being here and celebrating with our department, our history, our future with us. We are glad you were here.
Thank you.